Okay, we're back. We're ready to have another great panel discussion. Let me get our music queued up. 1 second. I'll be there for you. Friends panel. I get to sit for this one too. Yes, this way.
Think of I'm here and here. Oh, I'm here. Yeah.
Follow direction.
Wow, it's pretty cool sitting here. I've been standing and shaking.
Yeah.
Would you like to start us off, Hawk?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. It feels weird not holding a mic, too. It's very freeing. Yeah, thank you all for being here. I'll go ahead and start just a little bit about me first. I just graduated from USC, just finished an internship at the Washington Post, and now I'm back home looking for the next thing and pursuing a career in journalism. Yeah.
Woo!
So I'll be talking about friends, and obviously very important for really your success in life and whatever you do. And so there's a photo of me in DC with some friends, and really the importance of that network that you build and the friends that you have around you to help, especially with Duchenne. And then the other one is at Napa and Newport with some of my closest friends from high school. And so I'll be talking about why friendship has been really important for me, because with Duchenne, you really need a good support network and people to care for you and whatever needs you have. One thing I'll say is that I live with 13 other guys at USC in a house. It was not a frat house, I assure you. And it was actually a Christian group that I live with, and they, helped me through a lot of, challenges like changing my sheets, taking out the trash, doing cooking, and they kind of worked with me to help me and succeed in college and kind of be there for me. It can help you get out and do things together. When you have someone that you can rely on, like a friend, it allows you to go to different places with them, not have to rely on parents. And parents are great, but it's also fun to, do stuff.
Good save there, Hawk.
To do stuff on your own with friends, and they can really help you, whether you're traveling or, for example, going to Disneyland. I had friends carry me in and out of the rides, and those could be a little bit crazy. So thankfully, I had strong friends that were able to lift me in and out of things. I also say friendship is important because of emotional support. It makes it a lot easier to have someone to talk to and share life together, and have an outlet to really talk about serious, issues that you're going through and any problems, and have someone that you can confide in and trust in. And I would say also having a friend around you or multiple friends makes social interaction a lot easier as well, and allows you to have the skills you need to make new friends and such. And that kind of segues into how do you make friends and how do you sustain those friendships? So with being in a wheelchair, it definitely is hard for me in some cases to approach people that are standing up. Thankfully, I have an elevator on my chair that I use sometimes to get on eye level with people, but I would say that people are really more open than you think, and taking a moment to say hello can really open yourself up to having a good conversation with a stranger, because a lot of times if you're in a wheelchair, people don't necessarily know how to interact as well with you, and making that first point of contact helps a lot as well. Connecting through your passions is also very important, and something that you guys can think about, some of the guys that are here and their parents, write some things down that you're passionate about. What are those things, and who else can you share those passions with? For me, I know video games is a huge thing, and for a lot of other guys it is too, and having that to talk about and to bond with is really important. Journalism is one of those things. I had some great friendships that I formed working at the school newspaper at USC, the Daily Trojan, and at USC Annenberg Media. And you want to find someone that you can be very close with and be a good friend with. And sometimes friendships fall through, and that's okay, but you have to find someone that is going to be there for you through the thick and thin, and sometimes that requires trial and error, and it's unfortunate that some people aren't going to stick with you for the long haul, but really maximizing those friendships and people that will stick with you is super important. And so that is at an Angels game, just to go through the photos. That's with my friend Leo. He has cerebral palsy, and we've got to know each other very well through USC, and I helped him kind of through some challenges, and we've become really good friends. And then those are some of the guys that I live with at USC, some of the friends I made, and we were at a wedding there. So. And then something else that's really important is how to maintain friends. Maintaining friends, like I said, is very important. Someone that's going to stick with you through the thick and thin. And it's a two-way street, right? So you need to show compassion and care to them too. You expect them to do the same thing, so you need to do the same thing, to them. And in whatever way that means, opening yourself up to talking to them, or showing compassion, doing things for them, helping serve them in whatever way you can. One piece of advice that I've taken from a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, which if you haven't read, it's a great book, you should read it. But listening carefully is very important, because it's easy for someone with Duchenne to kind of rant about, what's going on in my life, et cetera, but really listening to people helps open, a conversation, and shows that you care and shows that you're willing to hear what they have to say. And making an effort to reach out is something that I've realized is really important, especially now that I'm not in high school or college anymore and I don't have those friends around me. Texting people regularly and calling them is something that's really important. Setting a reminder maybe to talk to people and continue those friendships, because for me, those friendships have been really important and have helped sustain me through this time. And even if they're not next to me, I can call them up and have a good conversation with them. And like I said, support them any way you can. I know for us, physical support, like helping move or whatever, might not be the answer, but, helping them, for me, video editing is something that I do for people, or, helping them with technology, et cetera, and whatever way you can. And I think that really strengthens friendship as well. And you can't be a close friend with everyone. And I think for me, with friendship, quality over quantity, right? You want to have friends that you can rely on, that are there for you, that you can talk to about whatever you want to talk to, and it really makes life easier. And with Duchenne, you want to live, but you also want to thrive as well. And with thriving is finding friends and sticking with them and having them help you, you helping them, and all of that. So thanks so much for your time, guys.
So I'm Doug Levine. I'm a physical therapist in Austin, Texas. I see kids both 3 days a week. I see kids in the home. 2 days a week, I see kids in the school. So I have kind of a dual perspective when I'm treating the kids, because I'm seeing them in a bunch of different environments. And so as far as physical therapy related to friends and friends related to physical therapy, one topic that comes up a lot is playing on sports teams. And I get asked by parents, what are some sports that are okay to play, and which ones should we maybe enroll our kids in? And it's sometimes an easy question to answer and sometimes difficult. There are definitely certain things to avoid, things that require a lot of running or a lot of lifting or going up hills or strengthening type things. Obviously, we definitely want to try to avoid those things. But we really want to make it, and this is going to be a theme of what I was talking about, but, Hawken was talking about finding out what your passion is. It's really important with all of these things, with sports, with friends, with play dates, with things like that. You want to make it things that the kid enjoys. So, that's great if it's a sport or an activity that's maybe not detrimental from a physical standpoint, but if it's something that the child's not interested in, then that's not helpful either, and it's probably not something that they're going to stick with. So just some general guidelines to consider. Limit running, jumping, heavy lifting, those type things. When I say try to pick sports that are not high demand, just not high demand on the body. And then also lots of times, an option sometimes if the kids want to be involved with a sport, but they're physically not able to, sometimes they can be the team manager. That's definitely an important job as well.
Can I add quickly to the team manager part? I was really interested in football in high school, and I actually did stats and helped run practices for my football team. And the guys were great, and they helped, involve me in whatever I was doing, and that was a great experience too. So I would definitely encourage you to think about that as well.
Yeah, I think it's much different now than it used to be. I mean, there's a lot of, from a team manager perspective, a lot of responsibility, and I think that teaches good lessons as well. Looking at kind of from a school perspective, I had put some ideas on here of different games or different activities to play, but I really encourage you guys as parents to not, like sometimes parents will ask me, like I said before, what are okay activities, what are things to do? I try to give specific examples wherever possible, but like somebody said yesterday, if you've seen one child with Duchenne, then you've seen one child with Duchenne. I mean, everybody's different, and everybody has different likes and dislikes, and some kids are more into sports, and some are more into robotics, and some are into different things. So try to pick things that your child is interested in. So like at school, Foursquare, board games. One of the schools that I work at, for recess 1 day a week, or if the weather's bad, they have a board game day. Because they've had a couple of kids come through that weren't able to do at recess the things that the other kids were able to do. So the school, as an elementary school, they were really proactive about it. So they kind of instituted this and incorporated into their recess where one day a week.
We had Lego Day, just
Yeah.
saying.
So
Right? Wasn't it great,
board
Jim?
games, Legos. Also a rotating buddy system. I think it's great. Kids even at a really young age can really learn to be helpful. And I think if they have a friend in their classroom that has a disability, it helps that child out, but it also helps the other child out. And there's tremendous amount of bonding. And a lot of times at a young age, the kids don't have these kind of preconceived notions that as adults and as we get older, we tend to develop. So they just see somebody else as just another kid. He just happens to have a wheelchair maybe, or happens to have some difficulty with other things, but, it's just Hawken, it's just whomever. So another one of the schools had a rotating buddy system at recess where every day they would have a different friend that was assigned to that student with a disability. And like those kids were so excited about it. When is my time coming up again? When is my time coming up again? They wanted to have that responsibility. They wanted to have that friendship. They really enjoyed it, and the teacher was encouraging. And so, like I said too, board game day. As far as the different activities at school, whether it's PE at school or recess, or even just kind of walking around class, energy conservation is so important. Sometimes we think about, how far is it for the child to walk from here out to the playground, or how far is it walk from here to the cafeteria? But sometimes those little distances added up, multiple times throughout the day, can really fatigue a child. So just trying to figure out how to conserve energy throughout the day so they maintain more of an even level and are not spiking and then going down and then have to rest at the end of the day. Playground is a kind of a big quandary in the schools. A lot of times, what do we do with that? Can they play on the playground? How do we get them out there? I do, if the children are able to play on the playground, I really encourage it, but a lot of times what I'll do is, let's maybe have them ride in the wheelchair out to the playground, or let's try to limit the walking out there so that they have enough energy to be on the playground. So just thinking, again, every kid's situation is different, but just thinking about the energy conservation of it. Another thing that comes up is birthday parties and play dates. What do we do? my child's 5 or 6 or 7 years old, and bounce houses or trampoline places are a really big thing. And I don't want my child not to be involved and interacting with his friends and his peers. So, how do I address that? I saw in one of the parent Facebook groups recently for Duchenne that they said, the way we handle it is we just kind of come late to the party all the time, and we show up and, oops, sorry, we were just late. And that kind of, for them, that worked. But that can be, the bounce houses, the trampolines, that could be very physically stressful on the kids. So trying to really limit that. And another parent will, at the birthday party, they would go in with their child, and that way they were able to kind of monitor the situation a little bit. So lots of ways that you can still have your kids participate and be a part of it, but limiting the physical part about it. If you're making birthday parties yourself for your child, have them be less physical type things. If it's, having everybody come over and do crafts or robotics, or like Tiffany was saying, Legos, maybe having sleepovers where everybody's coming over and they're making mini pizzas or cooking or whatever. Kids love that stuff. It doesn't always have to be running around and jumping and all kinds of physical stuff. So try to do a little bit of planning. That way you feel a little bit less stressed about it. And then also, it's not a bad thing to sometimes, if you feel comfortable in doing this, talking to the other parents or even talking to the kids. If you're bringing your child to a birthday party, or you're having kids over for your child's birthday party, talk to the parents and explain the situation. Sometimes it's just a really simple conversation. Here's the situation with my child. We need to try to avoid these things. Most parents that I've come across, when you explain that type of thing, they're extremely understanding. So that's it. I have my information is somewhere on there with my email and Facebook page if you need to contact me.
Thanks, Doug.
Good morning. My name is Holly Van Meeteren. I'm an occupational therapist. I currently work at Tustin Unified School District, and I actually had the blessing of getting to work with Tiffany Cook for about 4 years. Time flies. We're saying she's left 5 years ago around this month, and that's really, it's so wonderful for me to be here and to participate in this and see what Cure Duchenne is doing today. So I'm very blessed to be here, and thank you for your time. As an occupational therapist, I've been in the school districts for a total of about 11 years. And what I want to say about, let's see if I'm techie enough to do this. When we look at friends, what I want to say is, as an occupational therapist, I think I get the best gig in the school district. And the reason that I say that is because we're kind of a jack of all trade, master of none. When you look at what occupational therapy does, it supports academic and non-academic outcomes, social skills, math, reading, writing, behavior management, recess, sports, self-help, pre-vocation, vocation, transportation, anything and everything. That is what I love about it. The history of occupational therapy goes back to well before the World War I, but it's the history of doing. People want to be doing, and they want to be interacting. And what does that look like? Well, for a kid, they're 8 hours a day in a school. Their doing is school. For us as adults, our doing is work. So when we look at that, we get to look at all those key pieces in their doing in the school day. I'm considered an expert in an activity analysis, which is my skill to go in and look at what physically needs to happen, what environmentally needs to happen, what mentally needs to happen, all those components that need to come together for a child to do, because that's what we're all here to do. For guidelines for the occupational and physical therapy services in the state of California, we have a nice manual about this big. And it is a wonderful tool and resource. We're going to get into a little bit of the talk about an IEP as I move forward, but just know that when you have supports at the school district, there's a nice manual to kind of guide you. I use it all the time when I'm looking at, can I really be doing this in a school? Absolutely, I can. It's a wonderful support as a service provider, and it's a wonderful support for you as parents. Here we go. All right, I'm going to advance my slides here, and then I'll go back. When we look at the school district, many of you, I'm sure, in this room are familiar with what an IEP is. I know that that is a beast. It's overwhelming. It's a lot of information. What I want to focus on today is what I feel is one of the most important, often overlooked, and it's truly my favorite part of the IEP, and it's that section that we often just barely glimpse over before you get onto the services. It's past the goals. But when you look at modifications and accommodations, this is huge for your children. It is huge for our students. I wanted just to make sure that I could define what a modification and an accommodation is, because even I need constant reminders of this. When we look at a modification, it's changes to what your child is taught. So example, you've got a child who is able to read fluently at a 5th grade level, but their comprehension is emerging at a 3rd grade level. So what do you want to do to keep them in that 5th grade class? You're going to present material for comprehension at a 3rd grade level. They're still accessing, but it's a change in what's actually being taught in the classroom. An accommodation is you've got that really super smart kiddo, like I'm assuming my friend Hawken here is, and can probably write a paper by far better than I can. He would have been 5th grade, reading and writing at a 5th grade level, but he might have needed the accommodation of a voice-to-text system. He might have needed, which Google Docs has. There's so many things now that are available through technology. So it's how do you make this really smart student do the same amount of work with less resources, right? Every time you look at that section for accommodations and modifications, you've got to ask, how is my child included and how is my child accessing? They're two very different things. So throughout your whole IEP process, particularly in this area, look at that. How is my kid included? Are they sitting at the table with everyone else, or are they on their own island? And looking at those types of things. How are they accessing? Are they flipping through a textbook, or are they on an Epic app that's giving them the books? Those types of things. Okay, now let me see where I'm at here. All right. Nope, wrong way. I am not
You're doing great.
the techie person here. All right, so when we look at how we're going to make all this happen, we know that we really want to weigh heavy on that modifications and accommodations section. Why do we want to do that? Because not everything is a goal. One, you don't want 40 goals in your student's IEP. It's not going to be helpful. Their chances of making those goals, if you're working on 40 things versus 10 really great skills, you have to weigh that option for your kid and for your family. That's why you look at that modifications and accommodations section, and the sky is the limit with what you can put in there. And what I wanted to do to kind of break it down for how you could utilize that space is who can help you. You've got your students. You've got your peers. You're a student yourself, like your child who's a very active participant in that IEP process. You've got their peers. You've got the teachers. You've got the librarians. You've got the IT department. I listed special education team last for a purpose. What I think we often overlook is the resources that we have that are so amazing and so wonderful just within our general education population. I bet I go to our school librarian once a week. Hey, what have you heard about this? Or hey, I want to do this. Do you know anything? Do you have any information? They are an amazing resource for your child, for your team. And then the special education team, you've got an occupational therapist, you've got a speech language pathologist, you've got a physical therapist, you've got an assistive technology team. There's so many people that you can pull the resources together for to look at that section for modifications and accommodations. So what are you doing in that the modifications? So you've identified who can help you with the modifications and accommodations. Now, what do you want to modify and what do you want to accommodate? You look at all the school activities and every social situation. When do you do it? You do it from bell to bell. Their school day starts from the time you drop them off, whether they are bringing themselves in, whether they are using their power wheelchair, whether you are pushing them in. That is when their school day starts. So that is when you have to get your hat on and say, what are we doing and what is my team doing to help me do this? And as an occupational therapist, I'm looking at what door are they coming in? Where are they positioned in the classroom? All of those types of areas that have to be addressed. Where? The entire campus. The classroom doesn't just school doesn't just happen in the classroom. It happens in the hallways, in your innovation stations. It happens on the playground. It happens in your cafeteria or lunch area.
You have to get to the bathroom too, you know.
And you have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
There's so many components in your day that have to be looked at. So when I say look at it from bell to bell, when you are sitting there with your IEP team, do that. Journal it. Write down exactly what your child encounters in a school day. And then, where's the most bang for your buck? Do you want your kid exerting most of their energy getting into the classroom? No. You want your kid exerting their energy in robotics lab. You have to weigh that out and look at what's more important and valuable for your child and for you as a family. So the best part is how. You got to identify a plan. All right, let's see where I'm at. The how to. So when you get to plotting all this out, you've journaled the day, you want to really look at the meat of what you can put in those accommodations and modifications. There are a lot of things that you need to look at, and it's an ongoing process. You have to constantly be assessing and reviewing. Did that work? Did it not work? Okay, let's go back to the drawing board and try it again. And just because we think it's a good idea, if your child gets there and said, Mama, I didn't like that at all, that was terrible. This is where Miss Holly said I should sit, but I really want to sit here, and this is why I want to do that, because when I'm tired and I want to recline my wheelchair, if Miss Holly tells me to sit in the front so I can access the smart board, I kind of don't feel so good whenever I'm reclining my chair back to rest. You have to take all of those things into consideration. Again, first looking at the student goals. What does your student want? What does your child value as important? We can think of everything in the world that's important and good, but if your kid doesn't have the buy-in, you're not going to get it. The physical environment, that's huge, that's key. That's my job. That's to look at what can this student get into and out of? Where's the best place to go to the restroom? Is it the nurse's office? Well, if the nurse's office is 3 buildings over because your high school is the size of a college campus, maybe not your best option. Let's look at all those things. Again, you've journaled what your whole day is. You've journaled the times for things. The schedule of the environment. Schedule is huge. You know your kid is a very strong reader and writer. Not so much with math. Maybe that's the time you're going to take that bathroom break. You have to look at every aspect of your student's day. And then where are you going to put that? You're going to put that in the accommodations and modifications section of your IEP. That's not a goal. You want that done every single day for your student. It's your child's right to have that, and it will make them have a great, successful day. The tools of the environment. Tools are anything that you use, to an iPad, to a computer, to a stylus, to a pencil, to scissors. Anything in your school environment is a tool. To your desk, your books. One of my new favorite kicks that I'm on is every public library has a system called Libby, and now they've got an updated version called Overdrive. Every single book that you could ever have or want to have access for your child is there, from Harry Potter to science. That is a wonderful thing that's opened up so many windows for our kids. You go to the public library, it's free. You get a free card. You can have access to all of this curriculum and all of this material, and anyone can access that. Making sure those tools are available, and guess where you put it in your IEP? The modifications and accommodations. You want your kiddo to have access to that. The physical ability of the student. Every student has different physical abilities and challenges. Where are your kiddo's strengths, and where does your child want to use those? Maybe it is during the PE time because they are a sports nut and that's what they want to do. You have to look at what their physical ability is and when is the time to do that. Durable medical equipment. In the school district, there is a variety of durable medical equipment, from the smallest thing as far as assistive technology for communication, for writing, to positioning equipment, which is key. getting your kids up in standers during their physical education time. If your child needs to work on respiratory status, getting them up. All of those types of things are available to you in your school system. And then the resources of the environment, again, I think we're so fortunate in a school district because you've got so many resources right there. You've got your principal, you've got your teachers, you've got your librarians, your IT department. They're a different group of people, but they're really cool people, and they can do a lot of things for you and for your student. Just looking at what's available, and then I added in there because I think the F word thing is really fun and to use for your theme here. You have to look at what is fun for your kid, what is functional for your kid, and what is going to help your kid and be included. And when it comes to being included in the school, that is where you have an opening for friends. Anytime your child has an opportunity to access and be included, they're naturally a friend because you're meeting them. Your child is able to meet another peer at their same level. It's our job to make sure that your student can do that. Is it easy? Does it change all the time? Absolutely. So your child needs to be really active in what you can do to interact and how you can be a friend and what that looks like. All right? Okay. Thank you. You're on.
Way to go. Wow, I'm having a, I don't know what the label is sitting here, listening to all of you because I don't want to cry, but I am going to cry. I'm like speechless. I met Hawken 9 years ago, and he was a young boy and was close in age with Will. I've been working with Doug on the CARES team for the past 2.5 years. Holly and I worked very closely together. She was my teammate at the schools where we were advocating for all of these children with needs. We had needs too. And then I have Ben to my left, who I'll get to introduce after I speak, but I don't want to steal the thunder, so I'll go through my slides and then I'll share that story. It's just friends. It's just so important. And I know Will has so many friends, and it's really what keeps him grounded. My focus with Will is social emotional well-being. And whatever it is I can do to ensure that that is stable. When someone asks me, how's Will doing? The first thing on my response isn't that, well, he's not walking anymore. That's not the first thing. The first thing that I'm responding with is that he's awesome. He's so chill. He's chill, and his outlook on life, and he's just so positive, and he just keeps energizing me. And he has this network of friends that online and in person, and it's just the power that a friendship can have and become a family. I mean, all of these people in the room have now become part of my family, and so that combination of friends and family, it's all encompassing and so important. So. Anyway, I just needed to share that. We'll talk more because we have time, so I definitely want to make sure that we get engaged with the audience. I know Hawken loves questions too, so, but I'm going to put on my speech pathologist hat just for a moment because I just want to share kind of the things that I did. We had a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, and as a speech pathologist, kind of showing the beauty of the three of us working together within a school team. So I just kind of want to show you that. One of the biggest things is understanding. We want to provide information that is clear and simple to understand. We want to use language that defines the condition only. We want to include Will in the discussion with his friends if he's comfortable with it. And we want to kind of use this the W questions when we're talking about Duchenne's, if we want to talk about that specifically. So really giving good information, solid information, clear responses. What is Duchenne? Just label it. Duchenne is a form of muscular dystrophy. Boom. Define your child by his personality, by his skills, by his looks, not by his diagnosis. Who was it that said that? One of you said that too. So yeah, thanks for that but anyway, it was Douglas, I know. But this is just something when you're talking with children at a school, when you're talking with staff at a school, when you're just, as a mom going in, I'm switching gears. I said I'm a speech pathologist, but now I'm back to being mom. So, can't really cut it off. It all is one. But when you're going out and talking, I know when Will was younger and we went into his second grade class, we wanted to educate the peers, educate the staff, everyone around it, and to eliminate that fear around it. They would see Will with different equipment things, and we wanted them to not be afraid of it. So by labeling and giving an understanding of it, then in turn builds to that inclusion. So really we're focused on just labeling and talking and getting that clear understanding, not just with children with the special need, but all children and all staff and just everyone in general. The next part is about kindness. So taking time to understand others demonstrates kindness, learning, and good friendship. I don't really need to say anything about this slide because it says it all right there. I really like the quote at the top, loaning someone your strength instead of reminding them of their weakness. Let that resonate. There's some great photos at the bottom. The next slide's gonna tell you a little more background about it. But the picture of kindness is a group of children. How many years ago, Holly? Ben?
10 years? Yeah, 10 years at least.
Is it 10?
Yeah.
Is it that long?
Yeah, we're
Oh,
old.
my land. Yeah, we are old, aren't we? And then a group of children learning. And again, we weren't defined by anything other than these were just kids working together, learning together. And then that's actually Will when he was in 5th grade with some of his friends in his classroom. So way back whenever that was, Holly and I and Anna and Milena, who couldn't join us today, we're kind of sitting around and saying, what can we do as therapists, as clinicians, as teachers, as staff, what can we do to help promote this inclusion? How can we build this bridge of, it didn't matter if you had a disability or if you didn't have a disability, it didn't matter. We just wanted kids to know each other, to love each other, to play together, and see each other for who they were first, like to see Ben, to see Will, to see Hawk. That's what we wanted to really focus on. And so we started talking about, well, let's come up with a club. We could do something where we would meet on a Friday, we could have lunch together, we could go play. We just came up, all these thoughts, right? We were coming up with ideas. So then me and my acronyms, right? I'm like, we got to do something with the word friends. It just has to be, right? So then the speech hat comes on. Okay, and I'm working on my words. I'm going through Google, finding my word letters, what can go. So came up with this. Facilitating relationships and interactions in everyday, naturally developing situations. So we didn't want it to happen in a therapy room, absolutely not. We wanted it to happen in that natural situation, on the playground, in the bathroom, because kids are in the bathroom at the same time, right? Everywhere, like Holly said, bell to bell, across the entire campus, even across the school district, if we could get it that far. We wanted it to be fantastic. And so that's what we did. We created this club, and to be a member of it was simple. It was through a little application process because we really needed to make sure that those guys that were interested in being our mentors had an understanding of what it was going to take, because it wasn't going to be easy. And we wanted to make sure we were building character, right? We wanted to have people who had an understanding of what it is to be a good citizen, what it is to have compassion and empathy. And so we created the process, and we submitted it to the 5th grade teachers, and then the child had to fill it out and write his traits down. The parents had to sign it, so their parents got buy-in. The teacher had to sign it, and then it came through the approval process, which, did we deny anyone? No. You didn't know that, Ben. And from there led to this amazing, wonderful experience that I'm just so blessed to have had an opportunity to be part of. And this quote at the bottom, sometimes the greatest gift you can give another person is simply to include them, right? It's beautiful. And so we can talk more, but however long ago, because my time's gone, but Ben was a mentor. Ben was a 5th grader. He was a mentor. And his mom and I have stayed friends on Facebook for all these years. And he's a senior in high school. And I'm so proud of him and so honored to know him. And I want him to share his story, and then I want to have opportunity for us to engage. But I wanted to lay the groundwork of the Friends Club, and I want you to hear what it did for Ben. So that's it for me. Next is Ben.
Okay, yeah, I'm Ben Tilford. I'm a senior in high school, so I'm pretty young. I'm only 17. But with that, I've started my experience with Friends Club, and that's what I'm going to really reflect upon today, and the importance of youth connections. So the first thing I want to talk about is just this general concept and idea of how to establish these youth connections at such a young age. For me, I had the ability of going to Friends Club in 4th to 5th grade. And with that, I was able to meet so many people and really get introduced into this program and community in the best way possible. I had the ability to bond with so many people, including one of my friends today, Garrett. I had the opportunity to really learn who Garrett was and walk down the red carpet with him for graduation. With that, I moved abroad in middle school, but when I came back for high school, I had the opportunity to reconnect with him, and ever since then, we've been really close friends, and it's really unique, our experience, and I feel that connection was only made because of the age we started at. And one of those reasons is, since we started at such a young age, we have the same age together now, and we always did. And that really got us to this closer connection that I had never felt before in this aspect. So what I mean by that is, although everyone in this program has differences, we have more similarities than we think we actually do. And with that, we're able to connect on a deeper scale and take it to a whole nother level and really see who each other is. And due to that fact, we're able to bridge the gap between various programs, such as the special ed program. And that's not just in school. I'm currently one of the chairmen for Assistance League for the buddy programs. And under that, I've been able to see a lot of kids from my school, high school at Beckman, and a lot of the programs there. And it's really beautiful, and it's a great opportunity. And with that, I'm going to talk about one of those programs. So VIP Soccer Buddies is one of my favorite programs of all time. It's one of my favorites. But it's so unique because you get to get active and have this physical activity while creating really important bonds. One of the great things about Soccer Buddies is there's no exclusion whatsoever. Everyone can play. We have kids ranging from the age of 4 to 18, and all abilities are out there. And although on paper it might sound, how could this work? How is this possible? But the dedication of the players and the volunteers is so important that it's able to mesh together completely and create a fun experience, because that's what it's really about. It's about having a fun time and establishing these fantastic relationships. And in that concept, everything we do out there, that outshines any disability that the players have. That's not what we focus on. We focus on the abilities rather than the disabilities. And that's the most important thing when we go out there and play. And for that reason, we're trying to attempt to create these relationships at the youngest age possible, because it's able to set up a foundation for longevity in the future and a sense of catalyst. And I mean that on both sides of the relationship. For me, Friends Club just hit it off in such a different manner, where I was able to continue my journey and work with this community all the way up through high school, and it's changed my life more than I could really pontificate or elaborate upon. But on the other end of it too, somebody like Garrett, who I work with a lot, he has been able to see the importance of these relationships and bond, not only with me, but other people, and open that up and attempt to really involve himself with other programs outside school too. There's a friendly face wherever people will go on campus, and I think that's the most important thing. That's what it means to be a friend. So thank you.
Now you know why I'm proud, right? All right, it's time for us to chat. The catch boxes are around. Anything come to mind, Hawk, that you want to offer? Doug, anything from our chat up here? We could get the party started. Oh, yeah, it's so hard to see back here. Catch box, come in. Bad throw.
So this is very inspiring, and our experience with our 10-year-old is that some of the anxiety and some of the resistance that we heard yesterday comes along with Duchenne really gets in the way of him making friends. And so I'm kind of looking for clues for how to facilitate that, and I'm also wondering if you've got the structure and format for the Friends Club that can be applied elsewhere.
Yes, we do. You want to take that question?
Sure. For the anxiety and participation, anxiety is a big deal. That's kind of where we look at that behavior piece and kind of what's driving that anxiety, right? Because any behavior occurs for a reason. So what's the stressor? Anxiety is caused by stress. So the first thing you got to do is look at when and where. And back in, you can't journal enough. You can't talk to your kid. You can't talk to your child's teacher, their therapist enough. Look at every aspect of the environment. When is he happy and when is he good? Is it lunchtime? Because there's no no academic expectations. Is it in the classroom only? Look at which part of the day is anxiety inducing. That's your first key. Find out where. And then you can start to look at what you can do to support that so that the anxiety goes away. If we know that it's occurring in reading because your child feels like they may be called on to entertain a question or to read out loud, those are the things you want to know. If it is in regards to maintaining or developing a friendship, you've got to put your kid in the most optimal environment to thrive. If your kid is a big-time gamer, that's where you introduce friends. Mm-hmm. If your kid is exceptional in writing, you put your kid as a mentor to another student in a class. I would have loved to have had a student who's a strong writer. Like, I'm a science person. I am not a writer. A student like Hawken to support me. You have to find what's driving the anxiety and then hit your kid's strengths. Those are the two big things. And everything else is just fluff. Really, if you can help your child have one successful start to their school day, you've gotten one. And then you build from that. We all want to be included. We all want to have friends. Whenever we started the Friends Club, and to piggyback on, we didn't turn anyone away, but we were also very selective in who got on Friends Club. Because it was really important. And if you know that there's students who are exceptional and kind and smart, and we wanted those cream of the crop kids because we knew they could rise to the challenge that it was. You have to set that expectation for your kid so that they can rise and will rise to that challenge. Find out what their strength is and have them rise to it. We picked it for lunchtime because lunch is social and everybody can eat. Some of us more than others. Like, eating is fun. Eating is social. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how physical you are, whether you're musically talented, athletically talented, everybody eats. So look at those environments that your kid can be successful in. That was your first part of the question, and then do you want to do our second?
The Friends Club.
Can I comment on?
Yeah, I will.
Go ahead,
You
On.
can contact me, and I'll
The
share the
application.
Friends Club information. Yes.
Yeah, I was also going to add that Doug was talking about talking to like teachers and kids, maybe the whole school, about the situation, because I think if people understand what the underlying cause is, they'll like come to him and ask him questions. And I think there's also an opportunity too, because people like ask me like, what's your situation? And I think it's an opportunity to connect with them. And I think finding your passions is important too. Like, I did Battle of the Books at my elementary school, and that, like, we would read books and then we would go to these events, and they would kind of quiz us on that, and that was a good opportunity just to have conversations, on the bus, going there and back, and just, inviting, friends over after, and that kind of thing. Yeah, and it is a little bit nerve-wracking, being in a wheelchair and trying to approach these people, but really, talking to parents and such, and the kids, I think, can help a lot.
Yeah, I think you in your question, you didn't say whether you're talking about at school or not at school, but there's a lot more that you're able to control at home. So if we're talking about school, that's such a big part of the kids' day, and so like Hawken was saying, maybe I think teachers are so much more open to this kind of stuff than maybe like 20 or 30 years ago, and accepting of differences in kids and having the kids succeed and in just every way. And of course there's there can be not great teachers, but being proactive and maybe just setting up a little time with them before school starts and say, here are some issues with my child, or my child has difficulty when it's a big group, or there's loud noises, or he has a hard time going up to kids. I think they're going to be a lot more aware of that, and they might facilitate situations to help with that.
Does that answer you? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk to you in more detail with anyone, too.
Comments, questions? We have time. We're good. Oh, I see some hands. Hands up in the air. Go, Jen. In the back, Harry, in the back, in the back. Jen first. Yeah, good catch. You in the front.
So
You're good.
I
Yeah.
just, for high school, it seems like we're coming up to some, like before high school, he only was starting to get into his wheelchair in 8th grade. It was a horrible year. And it seems a little better this year, but is there any good suggestions to help, I don't know, educate? It seems like in elementary school is a good time to educate peers, but in high school it seems a little more difficult to do it in that way.
So
Or
I
a
feel
better
like,
way.
yeah,
Good
thanks for the question. I feel like I actually had a lot easier time in high school getting adjusted to using my scooter and such, because high school, it's more focused around academics and clubs and such versus physical activity, because like in elementary school, everyone's out on the playground, doing their thing and playing handball, etc. And I felt like, it's a place where you can keep up with people in a non-physical way. And I think there's, plenty of ways for someone to, during lunch, like for example, like at my high school, like we didn't go out and play, we just kind of sat and like talked and such. So I think that will make it easier. As far as educating, his peers, that's right. I mean, the earlier you can do it, the better, because, as they grow and mature, they have more time to understand what Duchenne really means, and to be able to understand that and help them in a way, in whatever way that they can.
What has he voiced to you? Or has he said anything to you about what are his frustrations? Has he said anything? Sister? I forgot your name. You want to answer for him?
No.
Oh, come on. It's okay. We won't
He's
bite
just
you.
worried about other people's opinions.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair enough.
I
Okay.
feel that, yeah.
Yeah, we get that one.
Yeah.
Do you want, yeah.
And I was just going to say, just, I've heard Tiffany talk about this numerous times, just about how important it is to take your child's lead.
Yeah.
Some of them want to be, and I'm totally speaking for you, I'm sorry.
No, I love it.
But, some of them are very open about it, and, hey, here's my situation, whatever. Some of them don't want to draw any attention to it. And so I definitely think educating those around him is just super important in the way that he feels comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And so I think having a conversation with him and,
Yeah,
what do you want? How do you want people to know? And how do you want to...
Yeah, get him to be that, take his lead. I mean, that's what we did when Will was younger, is we gave him ownership of this. And I took his lead. I followed him on how he wanted it. And honestly, what was it, 6th grade when we started because we were here still.
Yeah, I was going to share
remember
that.
that? Oh my
you
gosh,
came
it was
in,
rough.
It was really rough. You
When
came
he
in
was transitioning
to the
to
wheelchair.
the chair.
And his comment to you, because you'd noted a change in he's very witty, very smart, funny kid, and he was just in a rough mood, and he didn't want to go to school. And he was giving Tiffany a hard time about it because she needed to get to work, and Brian's jet setting somewhere. I said, well, buddy, you got to go. She's like, I don't understand. Like, what's going on? You've got friends. And he goes, Mom, all I see are legs all day long.
Whoa.
We all, because he just said what we couldn't understand, because we're like, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. And Mom, all I see is legs all day long now that I'm in the chair. I'm like, okay, all right. So she knew where he was, and that's where she started. And it was a long, long road. And most of you, many of you know that Tiffany and her family are big Alabama fans.
Roll Tide.
And they live to watch and football and everything about football. And they've had the opportunity to watch Alabama national championships, like on the field, and amazing experiences. And kind of what that rolled into is that Will needed a little bit of the sugar bowl every day. And how do you create a little bit of the sugar bowl? Because that was his happy spot. And it was when you started that transition of, is he going to go to school at home? Is he going to do online? And you guys made him accountable in that. You're smart. You're not going to sit at home and game all day. You're going to work your brain. And what's that going to look like? But I think Will was such a good communicator because it was the expectation that you had it. But I think if you could get to the root of, is it because he's seeing legs all day and he doesn't feel comfortable because he was confident when he was here because he was at a different level? Where is it? And again, look at where your kids' strengths are if you can, because there's so many there and there's so many talents, and getting them to identify what is that little bit of the sugar bowl that's going to make you happy every day, because not everybody has 100% of their day that's happy. But you need a little bit. Everybody needs a little bit of happy every day, or what's the purpose? So see if that could help, and if he could identify those things for you and with you.
I'll add one more thing about being afraid of what other people are thinking. I think that's something that has kind of hamstrung me in the past. Like, I get so worried about doing this and that I just like kind of shut down and don't want to do anything at all. I think it has to come like from him too. And for me, what helped for me was just like kind of ignoring, like, I know that's hard, but like trying my best to ignore like what I thought other people were thinking. And the funny thing is, like, I was probably thinking what they were thinking was actually worse than what they're actually thinking.
Right.
So you kind of get in your head, but I think it's important to not care about that and like just focus on what you're doing. And I know it's hard. It's easier said than done, but that's what helped me.
There's a question.
Yeah, well, my question, it's not so much in the school environment, but more like in the family environment.
Yeah.
I'm here in the back.
I'm trying to find you.
In the very back middle table.
Oh, there you are. Thank you.
So the whole thing with my nephew, he's only 5 and he doesn't have any friends. And I come from a big family. We have parties almost every weekend. And I see him struggle, like, like the other kids don't really want to play with him, and I don't know how to handle that. I have become his best friend, but I'm boring, I'm a lot older than him. And I get in the playhouse with him, but what I noticed the first time that I got in the playhouse, the kids immediately left and just left me and him, and it really broke my heart. And I wanted it to take that as an opportunity to educate the parents and the kids. And I tried doing that, but it was really hard, mostly for parents don't understand what we're going through. Right. So I was wondering if any of you or any of the other families have a suggestion of how can I promote friends within like the family circle. I have, 50 cousins that are around his age that can become an ally. I just don't know how to handle that. And how to handle the adults too, because
Absolutely.
the adults are being very stubborn.
Oh yeah, they don't know how to be friends either.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear Ben's take on that.
Yeah, sure. I think some of the main reasons why there's some problems with that is overall knowledge. I know with kids, typically neglect things that they don't know about. It's rough, but once you get that foundation of knowledge, kids actually open up a lot more than you think. And I know for me, once I gained knowledge and more experience about it, it was a lot more fluid. It was a lot more easily to accomplish. And so with such a big family, see that as a plus. And I think it just generalizing and getting things into their mind that really helps them open up to see past these certain things would really be a good idea. Yeah.
And I think also to piggyback on Ben, find your nephew's strengths or his passions. What does he love? Does he love to play with Legos? Does he love, what is his favorite? And carve out little stations where you bring them together and you kind of lead it. You bring them together and you demonstrate how he is a friend. He can be a friend, your nephew. You know, put your nephew in the upper hand side, like put them with him. And am I making sense? That's another opportunity. So it's really, like Ben said, it's building that understanding, like I was referencing earlier. And even as a 5-year-old, they certainly can understand too. But you can kind of carve out these opportunities. That's kind of how Friends Club was done. You know, we had these opportunities that we structured them, and then we were able to kind of let the structure fall because it turned into these naturally developing. We figured we won Friends Club when we were hearing that they were playing together during recess when it wasn't Friends Club time. That was when it was really, that was our win, you know?
Coming to the family and saying hi to the family and the child in the community.
Yes, I know Garrett, I remember it clearly,
Powerful.
Garrett's mom calling and saying, we were at BJ's, I think I really remember that. Wow, look at there. We were at BJ's in Tustin, and this kid comes up and introduces himself and says, hi, I'm Ben. I'm a friend of Garrett's at school. And mom calls and says, she had no idea, you know, that had never happened in their life, that a child from the school came to them and outside of school. So I went on a tangent, but it was so powerful. But it was just, it's amazing. But I really think that it's that understanding component and kind of, since he's your best friend right now, take that and utilize that to be the guide to bring the others to him. And then find those that continue and stay there beyond just that 5 minutes, which, like we have here. I mean, it can happen, I promise.
And it is sometimes harder at a younger age. I mean,
Yeah.
5, that's, you know,
Yeah.
I think you
Developmentally,
said,
you're very egocentric at 5. So
Sure.
maybe hit those little older cousins who
Yeah.
don't look,
Grab
can
your
look,
10-year-olds,
yeah, who can look beyond
9-year-olds,
themselves.
your little mamas. You
but
know.
like Tiffany was
start.
saying, I would start small, you know,
Yeah.
find out what he likes, what his strengths are, start with a small group, and then do it in an environment that he's really comfortable in. So not, out at a mall somewhere, not, but your house where
His
it's
turf,
his
basically.
territory,
Yeah.
it's his
Yeah.
stuff. He feels very comfortable, and then start small and somewhat controlled, and then hopefully you can branch out a little bit from there.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to say thank you very much for this whole event and for your panel up there today. Mine is a little bit different. My son is grown. He's going to be 29 years old this Saturday, and he has Duchenne.
Oh, happy birthday.
And
Almost.
a lot of the things that you have mentioned are things that we did kind of on a natural basis to find things that he could do and work on just the things of his abilities. Unfortunately, we didn't have a friends club or something like that, which would have been great, but it was just kind of one-on-one getting to know people. But my challenge now with him being 29 is what are the expected challenges and what kind of solutions or what can I do as a parent with a 29-year-old who has a future of who knows how many years ahead, and I'm an aging parent at the same time. So you've been talking a lot about the younger group, but what about the older group of young adults?
Absolutely. And what is he? It's hard. It's a loaded question without knowing him.
Yes, I know
So
that.
if you could share a little bit more about him, like what are his desires? What are his passions, his strengths? What's his?
Well, he completed 2 years of college, community college.
Fantastic.
He is very much into his computers. He's into drawing. He just signing up now for some kind of community. It's something on the computers. I'm not that savvy on that. But some kind of community classes you can take where he can take drawing and do all kinds of things. And you pay a very nominal fee a month, like $8, and you can do all these neat things. He does have, what? Oh, sorry. He does have a good strength of friends. We have a very small family, so the friends are the bigger part of what he has. He has over the years tried many different things. When he was smaller, he did the soccer and the baseball and horse therapy, and then he moved into theater, and he did choir, he did aquatic therapy, so he's done a venture, a lot of different things. Today he enjoys, we go to a lot of concerts, plays, any kind of show that he can attend because he can move with his wheelchair and park, and he can watch and enjoy. He has to go with his fedora hat that has different pins on it and a special scarf that he wears. And because he's cold, because he's very thin, he wears a big blanket on. We just saw Blue Men at the Pantages, and we got pictures of him with the Blue Men outside there. So he has a very active mind. He's what we call nonstop talker. And but he's had to deal with things. This year was a hard year. He had to go to a feeding tube because the swallowing is declining, and he had to go through that procedure, which involved risks. But he made it through just fine. He is on a non-evasive ventilator. He does not have a trach at this point, and so that's kind of where he is physically. He's only about 86 pounds, but he has a great sense of humor, and he loves talking to people, and he's very open and friendly.
It sounds like we should have invited him onto the panel with us today. Right?
But I'm looking as a parent, and especially because I'm getting older, that how's it going to be for him as he continues? My pulmonologist at USC said he has 3 patients that are age of 50 with Duchenne. And so hearing that, I'm saying, wow, he has, he can be going on for a long time. And what am I to do to help make his life continue to be the best it can be as he's aging here? And there doesn't seem to be much out there. Like most of the clinical trials are all younger.
Right.
Everything's all younger, which is great. But what do you do when you've got an older adult child with Duchenne?
Yeah, I'm right behind you at 19. You want to?
Sure.
jump on
So
that?
is your question kind of along the lines of socially, like what can you encourage or?
Socially concerns me, yes.
Okay.
Because I could no longer personally take care of him, so we moved into a residential place, which is just great. It's a small house with only 6 patients in the house and 24/7 medical care. But they're not Duchenne patients, all of them. My son is actually the most active and mobile. So he doesn't get friendships from the house because they're in more difficult physical conditions and don't talk.
Yeah.
So he communicates mainly with the staff and then all of us that come and visit him and take him out.
Oh, we have a
So-
comment over here. We have a hand up. Can she get a catch box?
Yeah. I think they said I have a question here.
Okay. I can't see.
Yeah.
Hi. I'd like to add on to your question. My son's 25, and there's an expression going around, which you may take offense or you may not, and it's the unexpected tribe of adult Duchenne young men living much longer and living well. I fully appreciate that every DM boy and young man presents differently. And my son's doing very well. He's at university. He's studying forensic science. He drives his own van. We go to rock concerts all the time. And I think, like you say, what's his interest? Well, hey, it's heavy metal music, so what do we do?
Rock on, man.
We go and see Ozzy Osbourne and Kiss and Aerosmith,
Yes.
all of that. And to be quite frank, he would have been with me for this conference, but he's got to do some work in university now. So, you know, it's keeping an interest in whatever floats your boat.
Yes.
And yes, I know I can see young men at 25, and they may well be confined to the bed, but that's not the only picture. You know, don't settle for just, oh, I'm going to do gaming for the rest of my life. No disrespect, but you need to get out into the world. And it's so easy to become isolated with this disease. And to be honest, the older you get, the harder it gets, because this disease is catching up with you in a horrible way. But it doesn't have to, because you can do absolutely anything. You just have to do it differently.
Yes.
And, you know, if you have to bring friends over for a film night, do it. You know, just think differently, but just don't think, oh, that's not impossible, because it's not. It really isn't.
Yeah, we just did, was it in Richmond
Yeah.
just a couple of weeks ago that we had a panel of young men. Hawken was on that were talking about you know, living with Duchenne as an adult, and one of the guys did web design. I mean, he had like his own company contracted with people and did different web design, and you know, not only was that a job, but you know, I think there was a lot of socialization that came from that and interaction. So with technology the way that it is now, I mean, there's so many opportunities for things like that. So like, you know, like you were saying.
Another important thing I forgot to mention, my son is on the board of Pathfinders.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
DMD Pathfinders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Is that Janet?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's basically the only charity in the world, in the UK, but it's international, that is run by adults with Duchenne, for Duchenne.
Fantastic.
So, and they do all sorts. They have social meetups, they have games meetups. I mean, one of the CEOs, John Hasty,
just got married a couple years. It's been a year.
And he's right now in Barcelona. And he took a train from Reading, which you might know is like about 50 miles outside of London. He took a train into St. Pancras, got the Eurostar, all the way there, no problem.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Absolutely.
And I'd also add that, like, you like going to plays and theaters, and that's an opportunity for him to invite people along to talk to.
Number one thing, you get to go free as a carer or a mum or a friend. Well, you do in the UK anyhow.
Wow, we're all coming to you.
Yeah, you better. 'Cause we get free concert tickets, cinemas,
I'll see Ozzy.
everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A question up top.
I have a question. This is Leslie. I'm Diego's mom. And Diego is a freshman in high school. And we live in a very supportive community. And I've been very proactive, like talking with the kids and the teachers at school sometimes, like in elementary school and the middle school, so that the kids and the community like know what help looks like.
Right.
But as he goes into the high school, both like Diego and the school, it just feels like the environment pushes me away a little bit. And what is happening is Diego's like smaller. The kids are starting to date or with the girl thing. So then you go to the football games and the soccer games or whatever that are outdoors. A little scary for me, but Diego is a go-getter. He goes and is there always. But then you see the girls passing by and don't even look at him. And then the old friends, his good friends left. They're not in Cincinnati anymore. But then some of the kids that were good friends, suddenly they became this zombie teenagers that just shrug their shoulders and they answer, when you say hi. And then they just think about the girl, so then Diego is alone there, right? So when I talk to the moms are always very interested in saying, hey, like, do you need to tell us how can we help or whatever? But of course, I'm not friends with the girl moms because I'm friends with the guys. But I was wondering if there's any material or any recommendation, because I don't want to be so proactive that in a way it's not welcomed in high school anymore, but in a way kind of saying sometimes like if the girls exchange 3 sentences or whatever, it makes a whole difference on the experience of how to go through the journey of the homecoming party and the dance parties, many things that are very scary. So just if you have any experience on how to interact with the high school, and if there are any materials that could be helpful in that process.
Yeah, the good thing is not all the guys are like that. So, but kind of.
And then I hear also similar to what you said at the 5, you're like, sorry if I don't want, but they say kids this age are stupid and selfish. You just need to wait, but like I don't want to wait. Like I want to just for him to continue engaged.
No, yeah, you definitely don't need to wait. I feel like a good idea would be if he's able to really connect with one of those guy friends. Because I know for me, like just even for myself, when I come to a new school and if I'm able to find that one friend, in a way they're able to integrate me into their own group. And if he's able to make that connection, everything else will follow. I feel that's really important too, because then that inclusion just keeps on going on and piling on, and it'll result really well.
And I will just say, you're spot on. It happens with, there's one friend from Atlanta who invited him as the broco for the home party, and he's going to go with him. And so there's a yay there, so it's amazing.
That's great.
But then I'm thinking, like, besides that, what is the one thing or whatever, if I am proactive, like, should I go a little bit step ahead and have a conversation with the mom saying, hey, this is what helps look like, because they're asking me, but I don't know if I should do email, Facebook meeting.
And it's touchy because I think he needs to be in the driver's seat for it.
So let him drive.
I think so. I mean, even if, thinking of a kid at that age, regardless of Duchenne or not, like that's a tough age, right, Hawk? I mean, that's a hard.
So hands off there a little bit.
I mean, what do you say, Hawk?
I like what Ben said about having a friend that's kind of like a facilitator. Like, okay, so they're not, talking to him, which is obviously an issue in and of itself, but they, they'll feel more comfortable maybe talking to a friend, and then they can connect in that way, and that friend can facilitate that conversation. But, I mean, I think as someone who's very shy, like, it can be hard to approach, but I think just engaging first with people, and, like, it sucks, but you have to wait. Sometimes you can't wait for people to talk to you. You have to go out and talk to them, and that's kind of a fact of living with Duchenne, but I think that's important too. Just
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's his time to then go and get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Give him the tools.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, mine actually kind of goes along with hers. Our son is 15, but maturity level is, I don't know, probably more like 10 or 11. So he likes things like Digimon and dinosaurs and Legos and Bionicles and, I don't know, Pokemon, those kinds of things, which most boys at 15 are looking at the girls. And so he can connect very well with younger kids, but I was wondering if you had any suggestions on how to connect with older kids. And he goes to a smaller private school, which makes it even a little more difficult.
First off, Pokemon is awesome, and I think there's plenty of people my age that still are I think there's people that you might have to seek it out a little bit, but there's people that like that stuff, and not all girls is a huge part, but that's not everything that guys at 15 think about all the time. There's more to it. So I think facilitating maybe some opportunities with parents and such that and having Pokemon gaming night, or doing watching Pokemon show, whatever. I think there's and Legos, I still love Legos, they're awesome. I think it's all about reframing it for people and saying hey, this is something cool that you could do. And
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And one of the best things about that age too is, especially when you go into high school, there's so many opportunities of those people to show their passions and express what they really like. Because I know when I went, I like some stuff that I would be considered younger age, but I was able to find a club. I was able to find friends that had those same interests really easily, and it was able to mesh really well. And so I think it's that combination of facilitating and also just kind of letting it take its turn with the high school and let people show who they are. And that might need some instigation, but I think it will come together very fast.
Yeah, and even having like an older friend like that is more like I think 15-year-olds are actually not the most mature, and maybe that's why like they might be struggling. But I think like even a senior or someone like that can really kind of like take him under their wing and kind of show them the ropes and stuff is important too.
There's one back there. Back in the corner.
Is that Oz back there?
Hello.
Oh, I hear you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Cooley, and my son Tyler Cooley has muscular dystrophy, and he's currently 23 years old. And first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for this whole seminar this weekend. It's been amazing, I think, for all of us. So big cheers to everyone. We're trying to keep a positive light on this whole situation. My son's been in a wheelchair now for about a year. We've been trying to focus on finding different things and different ways to kind of enjoy life and still be a person. I've been blessed because my two daughters are really active in helping us do this. A couple things that we want to share with you is my son's been able to do quite a few things this year, actually in a wheelchair. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, he went on his first deer hunt in North Carolina, and he shot his first 3 deer.
But he shot Bambi?
He shot Bambi.
Way to go.
He also,
That's awesome.
a couple weeks ago, he went on a bear hunt in Wisconsin, and he shot the bear. I'm sorry to tell you. But it was an amazing event, and the bear hunt was set up by retired sheriff's officers in Wisconsin. And there was like 12 of them, and they take people that are in wheelchairs and with different disabilities on an entire bear hunt. It's like totally amazing.
Wow.
So what I want to share with you guys is a lot of the places we started researching out is like, okay, how can I be just a normal person like everyone else? And what can I do? And where can I go to find some of these events? Some of these we found through like people with spinal cord injuries,
right.
People that are quadriplegic, maybe in some cases in similar, physical condition to our sons. He's also been able to do a sailing trip in Boston, and this is where they actually had a lift built right into the pier, where they lifted the person out of the wheelchair and they put him right into the sailboat. Now this is in Cape Cod. We've got an entire list of different things that are available to people like this. For example, in Arizona, they have an organization called Daring Adventures. And Daring Adventures is open for all people with different kind of disabilities. There's no cost for these things. They'll take you on hikes with the entire group of people through the Grand Canyon. They take you on sailing adventures or jet skiing adventures right on the Lake Pleasant, right in the Phoenix area. So I just want to share, let's all, kind of maybe look forward to, we can still do some things. It may be a little bit harder to find these things. My daughters and I are more than happy to help any of you find any kind of things in whatever city you guys are in that can kind of give your kids or your sons or your brothers or whatever great experiences. I also had a brother who lived with Duchenne till he's 44 years old, so we're pretty familiar with this, and we're here for you guys, and we want to make your lives fun. So thank you. God bless everyone.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And I know there's one question up front we have. Go ahead.
I just wanted to share something.
Yes.
I have a friends club in my high school, although I'm graduated now, but I just wanted to add that there's ways to get involved there too. One of the people mentioned about homecoming and prom. Our friends club had their own homecoming and prom just for the special ed kids. So I got involved in,
That's awesome.
That's something you guys could do, not just help out people with Duchenne, but every special ed kid deserves an opportunity, And homecoming and prom can be, difficult things to get into, for the normal crowd, you know, getting involved. Like you could get involved in the special ed community. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. All right. Well, I'll have to get in my other position. I love you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Switching. Hold on. And thank you to the Friends Club. Woo! Friends, I said club, Friends panel. All right, guys, you may exit.